Welcome to part two of installing this engine cowl. What I've done is I put one cleco just here somewhere in the top of the cowl, in the middle, in the centre line, more or less the centre line, and I did that so that I could then move the front of the cowl left or right to get it on the centre line of the aeroplane, lined up with the red line on the floor that we drew, which there should be a red line down there and a couple of plumb bobs. I can see both of them. Yeah, there's one. There's the other one. The cowling is centred on the centre line. I've drilled the not out to full size, but I've drilled 4 cleco. I've actually installed 5 clecos because I put one on the centre line, but the drawing doesn't actually call for a bolt attachment on the centre line, just the other 4. So I've installed those 4 plus the one in the centre line. The cowl is at about the correct angle. I'm pretty happy with this angle. It follows the turtle deck. Yeah, so it's not going to look stupid. It's not going to, suddenly come up here or suddenly be, hanging down or whatever. The next step, I might leave these flanges on the back because they're giving the whole cowling a little bit of rigidity right now. So I might leave them for the time being. I obviously need to trim them, and they'll trim probably somewhere on the same angle as the firewall. But for now, I'm not worried about that. That's not the problem. The next issue is to trim the cowls off. Each cowl is about 1 inch too long. Can you see where I'm pointing? Yeah, this cowl should be cut back to about here. What I'll do is I'll cut it back. I'll sneak up on it. There's no way I'm just going to cut it back 1 inch. I'll cut it back maybe 3/4 of an inch. And the same on the bottom. The bottom one needs to be trimmed up as well. And that should do 2 things for me. We'll go around the front here. And from about here somewhere, you'll probably be able to see that circle, what would be the air intake, is not round. It's very much oval, and it's oval by about actually a little bit over 2 inches. So the 2 inches that I cut off, the 1 inch off the top cowl and the 1 inch off the bottom cowl, so 2 inches there, and the same over this side, should bring it to where it's almost round. It won't look as bad as it looks now, put it that way. That'll bring the bottom cowl up by about those same 2 inches. And if you look inside here, this will be fun. See if we can get you lined up where you can look inside. But if you look inside here, there's my dog bowl. Didn't point out yesterday that that bar running across the dog bowl will be cut off. That bar is not meant to be there. It's purely there because I wanted the full length bar so I could get it centralised. These 2 attachment points down the bottom here, I need a pointer. There's my pointer. These are the attachment points for the lower cowl. That's what these two bars are for. And from there to the bottom is pretty close to 2 inches, and the same on that one. They're pretty close to 2 inches each. So of course when the lower cowl comes up by the 2 inches, it should touch on those 2. Yeah, so trimming the sides of the cowls is a big deal. That will hopefully get us into a much better situation. But looks pretty good. Now remember what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to get rid of these cowl bumps altogether. Yeah, so once I do have, what I'll do is I'll trim the two cowls. I'll trim them back, let's say the 1 inch each, the 1 inch on the top cowl, 1 inch on the bottom cowl. Once I get them trimmed off, then I'll get some scrap material and cleco them together so that I'll put a row of holes here with and cleco scrap material on there to join the bottom cowl. So they will be treated as one. I want the cowls to come together as a set and then forevermore be treated as one. Once I've got it as one cowl that actually fits most of the places, then I'll start trimming. And the intention is to trim this off about here, trim it off about here, discard that bit in the middle, bring this piece, this forward piece, up and make it attached to the rear piece, which is probably doable. It's not going to look, not going to be easy, but it's doable. Unfortunately, and there's always an unfortunately, of course, this lower cowl, because the angle of the firewall, the lower cowl's going to wind up coming down about here somewhere, and it's going to finish just before those lumps in the cowl. It's going to finish like about here somewhere, or not very far back anyway. I haven't determined that yet, how far back, but it doesn't give you very much room to alter the profile to match the forward profile. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but for now it's not going to be all that straightforward. But that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to try and do now. So I guess step one is to trim, like I said, I think I said about 3/4 of an inch off this, just simply because I don't want to rush straight in and trim 1 inch off and 1 inch, and then a bit short. Yeah, that'd be a fairly silly thing to do. So we're going to sneak up on it. That's what you call sneaking up. Yeah, we're not going to rush in and blast straight to the final dimension. That's just I've been bitten once or twice before. Anyway, this I've pulled out the hinge. This is the piece of hinge that will eventually hold the two cowl halves together. You just simply cut off the amount. It just comes as a continuous piece type of thing. You just cut off the length you need, drill some holes in it along here, drill some holes in the, or put them together and drill holes in them. Make sure the front's lined up and the back's lined up and everything else. And there you go. The two will be attached together. But for now, for starters, I'm going to just get a piece of scrap material and attach it from there to there. So it is attached all the way along, but just with scrap material, which I'll just throw away afterwards and eventually attach with this hinge. The hinge will actually go on the inside, so you won't see it. You won't, it's not going to look a stupid looking thing like this. See, it fits, it does fit beautifully, and it will curve around this corner. Yeah, it's not meant to hinge. A door wouldn't do that. You can't put a hinge on a door around a corner. It's not going to work. But all we're going to do here is use it as an attachment device. Take the hinge pin out, and we use the hinge pin to fasten the two cowls together. That's how it's done on many aeroplanes. Well, here I am back again. I've done the initial trimming. I've trimmed this cut line here had a flange on it like that stuck out this way. I've cut that off. If anything, by the looks of the distance from the cut line up to this lump and the cut line down to that lump, I could probably take a little bit more off this side. And it does need to be more come off the cowl. I'm not going to do that just yet because the cowl is actually touching, it's touching underneath there somewhere. The cowl is touching the fuselage somewhere before it actually touches where it's supposed to join, which are those two verticals. Those two verticals are actually meant to attach the cowl at the bottom, there and there. Yeah, so I do need to take it out, trim a little bit off. I've got a cut line. I've marked a cut line, which is more or less, well, not the cut line, I've actually marked a line around the firewall at the same distance as the firewall. That's that mark across the bottom there. So I'm just going to measure back, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches from that cut and actually cut the cowl off so that it can come up a little bit more and touch there and there. Once it's done that, I've got somewhere to work with. But I need it in its final place at the back before I can start trimming anything else. That's all. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. What do we got around this side, if there's anything worth looking at? Oh, this side is the opposite to the other side. This side, if we go back to the lumps in the cowl, this gap is a little bit more than that gap. So I think this is in the correct place, in the correct position. So I may need to take half an inch off here. On the other side, I need to take half an inch off the bottom cowl. So it's just going to skew a little bit. I'm pretty sure you're not going to notice. On the top cowl, of course, this is about my trim line. Maybe that's only about 1/4 of an inch. Maybe I'll go half an inch from where it is now. I want to be north of that. I want to be up above that. This is the attachment for the bottom cowl. And as you can see, I don't have quite enough clearance there yet. So everything's working in my favour. It'll make the lump on the cowl here, this gap under the lump. It'll make it about correct. It'll make it about right. Yeah, I need about 1 inch of gap there. At the moment, I've got like 1.5 inches, or maybe even slightly more than that. So that's what I'm trying to do. So now my next step is to hook in with the die grinder and cut that aft trim line on the cowling. Now I don't think that's going to be really entertaining for you, so I'll shut you down and bring you back when I'm finished. Alrighty, let's see how that fits. I don't know, there's a good 5 or 6 inches off there, I suppose. All right, maybe 5. That'll all be neatened up, of course. It doesn't cut a very neat line right at the moment, but I'll sand that. I'll sand that down. I think I'll offer this up first before I go trimming one side of the bottom cowl and the other opposite side of the upper cowl. But I'll offer it up and see how it looks first. But what is there in a cut? Looks good, that'll do. I must admit, I am really, really happy with the fit of these cowls. I still haven't trimmed them yet, so I've still got to trim a little bit off this side top cowl and a little bit off the other side bottom cowl, and I think it'll be somewhere near perfect. Here's the upper cowl. This is basically where I wasn't going to trim. Now, if you see here, this piece of 1/2 inch material, I've just clipped. I'm using it as a straight edge. I've clipped it on with a couple of Cleco clamps, and used it as a straight edge to mark where I want to trim. Obviously, I wasn't particularly careful where I marked and where I trimmed here, so it's a bit low. So I'm just going to take this strip off now, and I'm left with a red line that I've just drawn on there with my trusty red marker pen. Okay, so essentially I need to remove all the red bits, and once I do, I'll have a nice straight edge on which to line up the bottom cowl. I've got the room to move on the bottom cowl. I've got no problems. There's plenty of space to move, and this is, I don't know, let's be generous and call it 1/4 of an inch. I think it's probably less. The important thing, what's actually important to me at this point in time, and what I'm looking at, is this is where the bottom cowl will attach with a bolt. A bolt will screw into there. There's a piece of solid bar that goes inside this tube and gets riveted in, and the bottom cowl will attach to that. What I sort of really would like, and what works for me and what works in my favour, is I would like that distance from there to the centre of that, which is about 7/8 of an inch, I think. I would like that to be the same on the other side. I'll just try and show you a couple of methods that I would use to take this excess material away. Now, a small amount like this, definitely 100% my go-to tool, and it wouldn't matter if this was made from metal either. Matter of fact, I'd prefer metal. The first tool is this one. You seen one of them before? Maybe a panel beater might have used it. Yeah. It's just a fairly coarse file that's extremely sharp, and it has this adjustment mechanism on the back that puts a bow in the file, makes it even more vicious. I've got my gloves on because if it slips off, it's definitely 100% going to make your eyes water, and you won't be able to work on your aeroplane for a few weeks until the skin. Okay, here's my go-to tool for this particular job. It's this file. I don't use it in the way it's obviously intended, where you hold the knob on one end and the handle on the other and go like Billy-O. No. In this application, I hold it like this, basically by the file. I use my fingers as a guard. They go inside this, in this case, the cowling, and I run the cowl along here. I'm wearing gloves because it is going to hurt if it slips off. But simply, and I'm going to use the heel of the tool back here. And that's about all I really needed to take off here. Okay, that got us down to the line with a couple of dozen strokes of this tool. It's they're a beautiful tool in that particular application. Really good, in fact. Now, because we've got so much to do over this side, there's a fairly considerable amount of material to take off on this side. This This tool would take approximately 6 weeks to remove all that material. So what I need to do with this one is to run the angle grinder along there again and remove the bulk of that material and just leave the red line to be removed, probably with this tool. But while we're on the subject of tools, this little pneumatic tool looks like a junior linishing belt. It will do the job. I'll do a little bit here, but you'd have to use it very sparingly, and only about the same as the other side, only to take a very small amount off. You wouldn't try to take this off. I don't want to hit my straight edge, but well, that's not too bad. Matter of fact, I might continue with that. That's a relief. Yeah, it's. I was barely touching the fiberglass with that little sander just then, and it actually cut away the material very quickly. I guess you can tell because I've got my mask on. I'm not real keen on sucking up fiberglass pieces, and I also have this electric fan here right behind me. I didn't put it here to blow the fiberglass away, but it's working a treat for that. I actually I put it here because it's hot. It's quite warm today, so hey, that kills two birds with one stone. But I'll take this straight edge off, and I'll just dog paddle along with trying to get rid of this excess material. Of course, the bottom cowl's a different story. Once I've got the excess material exactly where I want it on the top cowl, then I can bring the bottom cowl up to match it, and start marking and removing material from the bottom cowl as well. But anyway, that's my intention. That's what I'm going to be doing in the next few minutes. Well, there's our beautiful red line, just barely left on the cowl. I think it came up really well. That was using that pneumatic sander, and also using the panel file. Got to be careful, don't run the spell check across that. Yeah, so that's really good. That's the upper cowl, fairly well done, even though I might want to take this up a little higher away from this square. I really do want to go to that line, but I want to now bring the lower cowl up and see how I'm going. I don't just want to blast in and, oh yeah, that'll do. No, I can live with that where it is at the moment. But if I'm able to take this up just a little bit higher, hey, more the better. But if I can't, then that'll be perfect. That'll do right there. Well, I'm really happy with the upper cowl, and as a matter of fact, I think I'm able to take that extra, whatever it was, 1/4 of an inch or so. I'm going to remark the upper cowl and take a little bit more off this side. All indications are that I can actually spare it. So I'm really happy with that, really happy indeed. It's coming together perfectly. And I've just got a little bit more to do on the to shape up the lower cowl, which I'll do that this afternoon or tomorrow. But for right now, I'm going to take I'm going to take that red line that we've got marked on the top cowl, I'm going to take that up probably another 1/4 of an inch all the way along. I think I can afford some off the front as well as the back. So no, it's going good, very good.